The world is dysfunctional. Organizations are highly dysfunctional. And those people that do lean correctly, no one can touch them. The differential is not, 50%, 100%, it's 600%. They dwarf everyone.
Right, today's topic, we're going to have a look at exactly what Paul was talking about then. 73%, I think it's 73%, don't quote me on the exact figure, roundabout. That's the number that I hear over and over again. 73% of change management efforts fail. So you might look at that and go, why bother even trying? The problem with that statistic is, I'm going to speak to this in a second, and I'll show you the book that it comes from, based on average, what the average person does. We don't worry about average, we want to worry about what the good ones are doing. The outliers are doing up in this corner right here. Okay, so this is an excerpt from this book by James King, Accelerating Excellence. Let me just read you this. This is where, tracking this 73% figure, where it's all going wrong. One of the first things that an aspiring scientist learns on their degree program is to disregard the outliers, because they risk messing up the rest of their data and it could prevent it being published. This is fine if the objective of the scientist is to work out something like how long it takes an average child to learn to read. With this new knowledge, the scientists can then seek to identify children who fall below the average and subsequently design interventions aimed to bring the child back to the average reading range. If our aim is to excel, then there is a problem with this approach. Negation of low performance does not result in high performance. Not being depressed does not make us happy, and not being obese does not make us washboard. Abdominals are imminent. Studying the average means we only learn about the average. Average and excellence are two distinct pictures. If we want to learn about excellence, we need to study excellence. Instead of deleting the outlier, we must study the outlier. Whether it's learning to read, musical ability, athletic ability, or intellectual ability, the question the performance scientist poses is, why is this person so far above the curve? Which is exactly what we're going to look at today. So we've got 4 quadrants here. So down in this bottom quadrant, and this is even, Jim Collins talks about this in Good to Great. So we've got people that are good, which basically means, in my humble opinion, they're mediocre. Okay? What we want to do, as we just learned in James's book above, is move up the top here to outlier. What are these guys doing? L-I-E-R. Got one too many boxes here. What are these guys doing? It's so much different. How do we go from good to great? From good to outlier. Down this end of the spectrum, down here as well, that keeps us stuck in this bottom corner, and I'll see if I can zoom in so you can see this. It is complete shit show. In fact, this bottle of shit show hand sanitizer probably ain't big enough for what's going on there, right? And it comes with aloe vera to soothe the shittiness, all right? So down that end of the spectrum, she's a complete no-no shit show, even though we've got good people, which is really mediocre. The other end of the spectrum is we've got these outliers. They're in flow. As James says in the book, if we want to study the average says that 73% of change management efforts are going to fail. We're not worried about that, but let's have a look at what they're doing to make sure that we're not doing what they're doing. Good tends to say to them when you suggest something like lean, and I'm going to run some videos. Ryan just says, Ryan, who's one of the guys that built City Meters, he says he just doesn't understand why people don't introduce lean. It just makes no sense. So they'll say, when you're asking something about lean, we're pretty good at that. We're getting it by. We're not the worst. We're pretty good. That's one of the things that they say. People that are stuck down in this bottom corner here, that's a shit show, and they're good, just mediocre. This is a classic one. I'll hear this one all the time on construction sites. I won't work here. You'll hear that one all the time down in this bottom corner. They've got what's called the uniqueness bias going on. You don't understand our industry, Beanie. That won't work here. We got long lead times for, we can't get people. You don't understand how hard it is. They think what they're up against is unique. It is not. Every industry has its issues. These guys are dealing with just as big issues in their industries, yet they're producing exceptional results, not what we got down in this bottom queue here. Another one is they're inconsistent. Don't ever stick to anything. Try it. You'll hear them say stuff like, we tried that once. Really? Well, there's old mate, the bloke who invented the light bulb. Imagine if he tried once and give up. I think he said, allegedly, 10,000 cracks at getting it right. Or they'll go, we already do that. The way they do it isn't like the way that the outliers do it. They might be just going through the motions, one-dimensional, and we'll talk to what three-dimensional is in a minute. Going through the motions, we already do that. We've got meetings in place. We've got Scrum. We've got Lean. No, unless you're performing at these levels, you're not doing it right. You're doing it as good and mediocre. You're not doing it like the outliers do. The biggest problem is something called Dunning-Kruger effect. They don't know what great looks like, what the outliers are doing. That's why they say stuff like, we're pretty good at that. Because what they're actually saying when they say we're pretty good at that is, we have no real clue where we are, but it's not the biggest problem that we've got right now. We're dealing with other things, which are a much bigger headache. So we have no real data to back up behind what we're doing or how we're doing it or what great even looks like or what an outlier even looks like. So we're just going to say we're pretty good at that because that makes us feel better about ourselves. Lastly, and probably the most important, training is an afterthought. That's one-dimensional. And I'll give you some tips on what three-dimensional training is at the moment. Didn't get that very neat. It's just an afterthought. They do it every now and again. They're generally, probably this time of year, come to the end of the financial year, they'll go, hey, we better do some training before, because we're just going to pay a heap of tax anyway. Outliers don't treat training like that, and we're going to see exactly how they do treat training and what they do with their training. All right, up in this top corner here, you've got your outliers that are doing something completely different to, they've moved from shit show to flow, and they've moved from good or mediocre to outlier. You saw FastCap Paul Akers talk to this at the start of the video. The team, the businesses, organisations, whatever you call it, that do as well, are like 600% better than everyone else. These guys don't even know what 600% better even looks like. They don't even know, have a baseline, don't even know where they're currently producing at. Paul talks to, in another video, how he's got some of his processes people do is like 9 times better than when they started out. Better than industry averages. People come up all the time to him and go, hey, I've just halved the amount of time that it took me to do a process. So 600% better. Seating matters. They make custom seats for people with house care issues. Used to take them 6 weeks before they started doing lean, when they were stuck down in here in good and shit show, in mediocre and good shit show. Used to take them 6 weeks. That was their delivery time for a seat. They're down to 3 days. As Ryan said, I'm just going to play the video for you right now. He can't understand why anyone would not do lean.
I've got to the point where I just can't understand why every company doesn't do it. If you ask any business owner, what are the goals of your business? To have engaged people, tick. To have increased profitability, tick. To have happy customers, a safe environment. Everything that every business owner wants can be achieved by lean, but why do they not? It's probably awareness, and that's why we're doing this podcast, to communicate the message and show them that it is possible.
I believe a lot of them don't do it because of that statistic right there, which is 73% of change management fails, and they're looking at what the people that have tried to do it down in this corner here have done and failed, and not looking at what these guys are doing at the top and how they've succeeded. They're looking at the average, what we spoke to earlier, not what the outliers are doing. Applied concepts are the next one. These guys have, I think, they've probably really started to hit their straps in the last 6 months, I'd reckon. It took a long time. They actually shut their factory down. I'm going to play the video for you in a second. And stopped production for almost, I think it was 2 months. Stop and fix it to get something right. They took a process that was taking 4 weeks, 2 guys, down to 1 day. All because they used lean and they stopped and fixed what the real problem was.
What was it like before lean? Just chaos, was it?
Absolute chaos. Probably all started with bad design. Since we started the lean, we kind of just stop and fix, and it's just been a game changer.
And you actually stopped, because you told me earlier that you stopped production for like 2 months to redesign some of the products. That must have been
The first thing I did was I said, right, we'll stop production for 2 months. We're going to redesign all this stuff.
You absolutely stopped the factory.
Stopped everything. And it was a massive risk, a huge risk. But looking back now, it was the best thing we ever did.
Okay, so we really want to emphasize this point. This is the product that you were talking about, Kevin, earlier, where you stopped the entire factory for 2 months to redesign this product.
This product used to take 2 guys 4 weeks to fully assemble, but now we have it down to 1 day.
One day?
Yeah.
1 day. 2 guys, 4 weeks, down to 1 day. Because they stopped and fixed the problem. That's what an outlier does. Stop and fix the problem. Not just keep dealing with it and keep running around in the perpetual trap of shit show and good. All of these companies, the 3 that I've mentioned here, and there's females doing this in other companies, don't shout me down. These are the ones that stand out, that do a lot of content, are the guys that I've seen. But they all have one thing in common. And this is the key to it out of everything else. This is what the outliers do. In the book that I spoke to before, Accelerating Excellence, James calls it concordance. I'm not going to go into depth what concordance is, but these guys had concordance. They turn up, they have single point of accountability. It is one person's responsibility to make sure that they get this lean stuff in place, 2-second lean, and move from this quadrant down here to this one up here. The person who just heard talk about it just then, which was Kevin, he had to actually convince the business owner. It wasn't his business, it's someone else's business. He had to convince the owner to stop for 2 months. So Kevin was the key person there. The other key people you were seeing in a couple of those videos, one's Ryan. I say to everyone that if you want to get lean in place, whether it's lean, theory, constraint, scrum, whatever it is, if you want to move from here to outlier, you must have your Ryan. Your Ryan's your person that turns up every day and makes sure everyone does their reps, their 3D training to get up into this space up here. If you do not have that person, you will not make it up there. There's very few people that have that ability to be able to turn up and do that every day, the concordance with it. Paul, who was the guy that you saw the first video, 600% veteran of FastCap, he was the Ryan in his business. Ryan actually learned off of Paul. I call it the Ryan because I don't know, I just do. You must have your Ryan, your Paul, your Kevin, whoever that is in your business that's going to be the single point of accountability to make this work. You must have that person. That is, to me, the most critical of the lot. Another thing they all do really well is their morning meeting. Again, you'll hear in this quadrant down here, we tried that once and it didn't work. I had that on a construction site I was on last time. When I kicked off the morning meeting and when we turned on a project around, one of the senior supervisors said to me, who was actually quite a good guy, but in the end I was glad he's left because he just didn't have the right attitude to do this, to pull this off. I said, we're going to do a morning meeting. He said, we've already tried that and it doesn't work. It won't happen. It won't last. Guess what? It did last. And we delivered the project early, well and truly way in front of where they currently were. It was a massive turnaround on that project. Morning meeting needs to be based on this 3D training that we'll talk to in a minute. You can't just be going through the motions. We already do that. So there is people doing the morning meeting down in here, but they're doing a poor job of it. That's why they're not getting up to here. And they'll be doing it, I'd almost guarantee you, where's the purple word? They'll be inconsistent at it. Some days, oh, we won't do it today. We've got a bit too much on. We're a bit too busy to be worried about lean today. Actually, there was I won't tell the story. So it must be, morning meeting is a must. Not a want, not a nice to have, not a we'll do it if we get time to. Those two are key. Single point of accountability, which is your Ryan, your Paul, your Kevin, Mary, Judy, however it happens to be, that turns up every single day and make sure that we're doing the morning meeting and we're not just going through the motions, that we're driving this morning meeting to get everyone bought in and on track. Spoke to training down here and this corner down here. Training is an afterthought and it's one-dimensional. Up in this outliers, training is a priority. It's not nice to have. 3D training, which is something that again comes out of Jones's book, which is you think, you do, you produce. I like to explain it as C1. So I'll go and watch something, then I'll go and do it, or I'll read something like out of Jones's book. I'm teaching this stuff about concordance and 3D training is this in action. Think, do, produce. C1, I saw it in the book. Do it, I've gone and done it myself. 3D training, well, I'm doing it right now. And I'm producing an outcome, teaching other people to actually do it as well. 3D training, and they do that daily. Not once every now and again. Not, it's end of financial year. We need to start having a look at what we actually, our tax bills coming in, so we need to spend some money training our people. We've got to go and do some training. Let's have a look at just how critical training is. I'm not talking sending people off for a frontline management course and now you're a frontline manager. This is training. Practice under pressure. Training every single day.
Teaching and training our people is often seen as a distraction, but it's actually a shortcut. We spend loads of effort and money and time in morning meetings and developing people and coaching them, and you get it back 10 times over. It's a cost that we're very much willing to pay.
Business owners of SMEs, cash is a lot tighter than it is a blue chip company or multinational company. So everything almost, the bravery and the courage to be able to make that decision. Look, I'm going to take these 10 people that if I kept them on my production line would earn the money today, but I'm going to invest that time on giving them some training.
10x result, Ryan calls it, by investing and training his people every day. Not once every now and again, every single day. Up in this corner, culture is king. Culture is group habit. They have measurable metrics. One of the key ones that Paul Akers speaks to is 2-second improvement video. So people go, and this doesn't have to be great video production when you're looking at this. People go and make an improvement. So I've got this here, okay? These pens, I have to go around and every time, this is an improvement that I need to do because I've been talking about doing this for a while and I still haven't done it. So these pens get spread around the room. So then I've got to go and look for them or put them in and out the box like I did just then, and that's waste, non-value added time. So if I cut that bit of that lid off there, and I'm going to actually do this, then I'll take that across and get some two-sided tape and stick that up there in that corner there. Let's just swing you around so you can see a bit better. I could pin that to that board just there. Those pens will come in and go out and always be there whenever. I'll never have to go looking for them again because I'll sit, actually I'll put it down here a little bit because it'll get in front of the whiteboard up there. They'll be sitting right there every time I need them. Just there, take it out, put it back in. That's what's called a 2-second improvement, and those don't just add up, they compound. That's how these guys go from this mediocre down here and they can get 600% better results. They're not wasting half their day going looking for the pens that should be right there where they need to be. Those should be there all the time because I write on them with this whiteboard. So why would I put them anywhere else? Why would I put them on the shelf up here? Why would I put them on the shelf over there? Why would I put them in a box down here? I have to think about and go and try and find them every time. The answer should be where the question is asked. So the question is, where's my fucking whiteboard pens? So they're right by the whiteboard pen, right there, where you ask the question. Where you stand here and go, where are my whiteboard pens? That's where they actually are. So those small videos, what happens is by doing those every day, you're building the habit of people improving. Then you're also building, setting a baseline. That's a new standard. So the new standard is now all whiteboard pens should be just there by the whiteboard in a case like that. So you can pull them in, take them out, go. Okay? Setting standards as well. And we're removing wasted time and effort spent looking for them. We never have to do that again. Never have to repeat that process of going looking around my room everywhere for going, where's the whiteboard pens, ever again. I spoke to down here, these guys don't know what great looks like. And I'll read you some statistics. This is out of Gary Ridge's book, and Dumbass Can Do It. Gary Ridge, if you don't know him, took WD-40 from something like a $300 million company to billions. Okay? Massive, the amount of impact that he had on it. These are the stats. They went and surveyed their people. So anyone that tells me, when you tell me you've got a great culture, or we're pretty good at that, or, you know, we know what we're doing. That was another great one. Someone used to tell me that all the time. Don't tell me how great your culture is. Go and survey your people and ask them these questions. I love to tell people I work for the WD-40 company. 98% answered yes to that. And got to remember, these stats were actually taken back during COVID time. So there was a bit of turmoil and a bit of chaos going on. This is the reason why Gary actually did this survey. I'm excited about WD-40's company's future and direction. 94% of people said yes to that. I know what results are expected of me. 96% of people said yes to that. I feel my opinions and values are a good fit with the WD-40 company culture. 97% of people said yes to that. I respect my coach. They don't have leaders or hierarchical positions. They have coaches. 97% of people said yes to that. Outliers. Come down to this corner down here, something like somewhere around 70%, again, this figure of 70%, somewhere around there, of people are either disengaged with their job or actively disengaged. I think that the actively disengaged runs about 10, somewhere between 10 to 20%. That's been studied by McKinsey & Co. Okay? That's why we don't look at what results are the average. What's the average? What's the mean? Not interested in the average and the mean. The average, 73% of them can't create a decent change management effort, and most of their people, 2/3 of their people are disengaged. We want to sit up here where the people are 600% more productive. They're taking 6 weeks down to 3 days. 4 weeks, 2 men down to a day. We've got single point of accountability. We're running a morning meeting. Our training is a priority. And we've got scores like WD-40 that range between 94% to 98%. All right, we're going to do a quick recap. Make sure that we haven't missed anything. So what I'm going to do is quickly talk through my notes from my old mate AI created for me up here and make sure that we didn't miss anything. So we talked about why we should focus on measuring outliers, set up in this corner, not the average. Not interested in what the average is doing. We want to get up here. 73% change effort fails, and these people are stuck in that bottom left-hand quadrant. Their language tells the story. We're pretty good at that. That won't work here. You don't understand our industry. We tried that once. We redo that. Don't know what great looks like. Training is an afterthought and it's one-dimensional. We've run out all the excuses. They don't know what great looks like. The goal of this video is to help you move from down here, good and mediocre, shit show, flow, up to the outlier corner. FastCap, 600% better. Seating matters, again, 6 weeks down to 3 days. Applied concepts, Kevin's video showed us the tool that they took from 4 weeks down to a day to assemble. 4 weeks for 2 people. They all have single point of accountability. A Ryan, a Paul, a Kevin. That one person that has concordance with growing people are making this process happen. Not when they feel like it, every single day. They've nailed their daily morning meetings. Training is a priority. It's not ad hoc and something that they do at the end of the financial year because the tax man's going to take their money if they don't anyway. They're getting a 10x return on their training. We use 3D training. We talk about where we think, do, and produce. Culture is king. The metrics reflect that. Video output is a key measurable when it comes to that. We've got extremely high scores in our surveying our people like WD-40, 94 to 98%. All right, take that, use it, make a great week, and I don't really put an intro video in there today. If you want any help with any of this stuff, reach out. DM me the words outlier, measuring outliers. If you're in the construction industry and you want to help skill up, go from leading hand to supervisor, superintendent, construction manager, on and on. I've got that program there called Run the Room. You run the client or the client runs you. This is very much the same. You run your team and they become outliers. They run you, you're stuck down here in shit show and mediocre. Take it, use it, make it a great week. I'll speak soon.